Hi guys, it's Kim, and I am on with part 3 of my divorce journey story. Where we left off on part 2 was the sheriff had shown up and handcuffed me in front of my son's house. So this was a weeknight, and what was it? Early February. Anyway, and I had just gotten to my son's, and the sheriff pulled up, asked me my name, asked me if I'd had an argument with my husband. I said, yes, we had an argument, but nothing happened. Well, what ended up was reported by my ex was that I had shot at him with a gun. That was why I left the house, because I realized I didn't have my gun. But it was my gun, so it had my fingerprints on it, and he probably wore gloves when he touched it so that it didn't have his fingerprints on it. He worked in corrections for 32 years or more. 35? Anyway, long enough to know what to do. So, and that I had beaten a door down with a bat. I was screaming, crying, saying I haven't done any of those things. There was no way I had done this. At this point, I'm in the back of the sheriff's car, or whatever it was, truck, and that I had broken a shelf he had, all these things. I mean, like 6 things. But the accusation of trying to shoot him with a gun, and I'll get to that later, how we prove that didn't happen, because it didn't, was a felony. I was out of it, just blubbering. Obviously, I was in shock. I think he uncuffed me or something for some time, and I had my phone. Margaret, God bless her, I mean, she's been with me through thick and thin. I texted her before he took my phone and said, Carl has put me in jail. And she's like, she didn't know if that meant I was stuck at home and I was being treated like I was she had no idea. So she contacted my oldest, and from that she helped, because I said to the cop, I said, I'm a teacher. I have parent meetings tomorrow. I always did IEPs and stuff. And he says, well, you're not doing those tomorrow. I said, I'm not going to get out tonight? He goes, oh no, you'll be in there quite a while. Oh my God. So I was just like, oh my gosh. So my son had been told to go in the house. He went and woke up his wife and said, screaming that I was being arrested and taken to jail. And so she woke up, started texting, because she's a teacher, so she knew the whole routine of getting me a substitute, and tried to get a hold of my sister and seeing if she had a lawyer. Well, she didn't. So my sister was in complete shock. Her husband was at home. I guess my nieces came over to calm her down, because her baby sister's going to, oh my gosh, it was just a nightmare for everybody. So finally we start up, and the city police came. My son came out, and he's going, Mom, I said, he's saying I did all this stuff and I didn't do any of it, blah, blah, blah. Here's what I need to tell you, though. I was raised to respect the police, and I still do. I mean, I'm not one of those that don't, police are bad. I do not believe that. However, they are required and will report everything you said. So I finally found a lawyer. That's a whole nother story. And she said, don't ever talk. Just say, I want my lawyer. I need a lawyer. Well, I'd never been, again, never didn't think. I was like, I'm a teacher. I can't, this is terrible. Blah, 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 So my son is standing in the pouring rain trying to calm me down. And finally, the other police came. They were nicer than the sheriff guy. Was a little rude. But anyway, he's doing his job. Whatever. So finally, we start driving toward the jail, county jail. And he says, do you have a lawyer? Or no, I said, at that time, my husband has worked in corrections. He knows exactly what he's doing. He goes, yeah, some of it does look a little weird. Like, you think? And come to find out, one, they heard him yell, no, Kim, the woman he's afraid of, don't go, Okay, that should have been a trigger. Also, he had this big, like 25-page thing written up for a restraining order that he handed them when they arrived. Uh, hmm, Seems a little, but you have to, in this state, you have to arrest somebody, so it was me. Anyway, and at one point, the sheriff says, "Do you have a lawyer?" And I go, "No, I'm a teacher." I said, "I don't have a lawyer." I go, "Do you?" And he goes, "No." And I said, "Well, you better get one because evidently this can happen to anybody. I mean, somebody could just say you did something and off you go." So we're driving, and again, it's pouring down rain. It's February here. It always rains here in February. Anyway, and we finally pull up. I mean, I can still see every minute of this. It was just shockingly crazy. I mean, and I don't know if you know this about me, but I worked as an on call guard officer, correction officer, years ago when my kids were little um, in a prison. So I kind of knew, what was the deal. And then I also taught there for a couple of years. Best job I ever had. Anywho, so we pull up. I've got my purse, and in my purse is, I'll get to that in a minute. So we pull up, and right away, one thing, I don't know people's phone numbers. They take your phone and all your belongings. They take it all. He could have told me, write down a phone number or something, or because I only know push the button by the name. I don't memorize anyway, so I couldn't contact anybody. So they take all my stuff, tell me to go in, give me a cup. I have to pee in it for drug testing. I literally, and this is the moment I knew I will never return to that house. And that is one thing he did do me a favor. I would not leave. I would not leave no matter what. I was not going to leave. I just kept hanging on. Everybody kept telling me. But when I had to bend over and cough twice because you couldn't get a good look, I thought to myself, if I ever think about going back to that, I will remember this moment for eternity. The most horrific thing, sorry, I try not to cry during these, to have happened to you. The most demoralizing. It was just unfreaking believable. So I get through that, and this nurse comes up to me a little later and says, "You have drugs in your system." I'm like, "Drugs?" And she says, "Yes, Xanax." I go, "Oh, yeah." I have a prescription for it. When my son, I don't take it regularly, but during that time I was. When my oldest went off to, fight and do Iraq and everything, I needed something. I was really struggling. So if you have loved ones serving in the military, God bless you. Anyway, and I thought, yeah, it's a prescription. Well, that saved me. They put me in the drug. They had to watch me. So I got my own cell because of that. But, I go, there's also a Debbie Makehomer book in there. I'm a normal person. I'm a grandma, for God's sake. Anyway. So they don't care. So off I go and I sit. You sit and you wait and you wait. And fluorescent lighting. It's just so bright in there, and there's all these people, drug addicts, and just, not people like me, I'll tell you. And the weird thing is, they must have fed, nobody offered me food, and I wouldn't have eaten it anyway, but there were dried up, curled up bologna sandwiches laying. It was something like out of a nightmare. And I was like, oh my God. And then the one guy came in, and he was screaming and yelling, so they put and I knew what it was, a spit hood, so he couldn't spit on them. And they, locked him up. It's just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm in here. Well, I sat there. I think I got arrested like at 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. It was 11, and I'm still sitting there. I got booked in, fingerprinted, photo taken, mugshot. And then they finally called me up, and most people, they'd say, what's your address? Do you have a home? And all this stuff. They want to know about your value, property and stuff. And, most of them are living on the streets. I mean, so I get up there, do you have a job? And I go, yeah. And they go, what do you do? And I said, well, I've been a teacher for almost 30 years. Oh, do you own property? I said, yes, I do. Owned it for 29 years. Yeah, I have property. They just kept looking at me, and I'm like, yeah, I shouldn't be in here. I mean, anyway, somewhere in there should be common sense. Okay, ma'am, if you stay here with your son, we won't arrest, something. But they thought I'd shot at him, according to him. So I do all of that. Then I got taken into like a room with a cell with a bunch of women. Scary, scary, scary. Sitting in there. I'm trying not to make eye contact. I'm just trying to sink into the woodwork. I don't want them to notice me. I don't want to make eye contact. They're scarier. Oh my God. They all knew each other because they've been in and out a million times. So then you get taken to a room. They take, you strip down your clothes and you're given orange. No, mine was green. Evergreen state. Anyway, and a blanket. No pillow. I think I got a cup. I can't remember. Anyway, and a little tiny roll of toilet paper with no cardboard in it. I don't know what I was going to do with that, but it's for safety for some reason. Anyway, I get walked up. And as you're walking, you're lined up with all these women, and this one woman that was older. They're all, what are you in for? Well, I said, my husband accused me of trying to kill him. And I go, and I didn't do any of this. And, but having worked in a prison, they all say they didn't do it, but I really didn't do it. Anyway, so she says, oh my God, well, I hope you'll soon be your ex. And I said, oh yeah. And that's when I just knew, that at least that made it definite. I do believe, had I not, and this is just my belief, I have no way of proving this. I can't say that I did, that this is for sure. But in looking back, the way it was set up, Kim, don't leave. My gun was gone. He was looking, I believe, remember I talked about how the keys, he kept going through the keys, and I, for some reason, kept both sets of keys on me that night. I believe he was going to kill me and say that I tried to shoot him, so he shot me back in self-defense, or that I turned the gun on myself. I don't know. But I really feel like my life was saved that night. And as horrific as this all was, it was the turning point in my life for sure. And the story goes on. So anyway, I got my own cell. You get with the plastic vinyl cushion. Oh my God. A metal toilet and a metal sink. And the feeling, I kept trying not to hyperventilate because I've never understood when I watch cops and stuff why they were so, I don't want to go back to jail. Oh my God. I get it now. The feeling of no ability, say something happens, a fire or something. I'm locked in there. There's no getting out. There is no getting out. All the lights are on. The one thing that I was so relieved, because, you have no windows. I had one blanket. What else did I have? I didn't have a pillow, so I think I can't remember what I used as a pillow. But anyway, I had a clock I could see from my window of my door out in the big room where they had, processed people and stuff. I could see the clock and I knew what time it was. And somehow that just relieved me to know, because you have no sense of time. I dozed off and on. In the morning, I was woke up for breakfast. A guard and an inmate came, and they literally slipped because I'm a dangerous felon. I can't. This is hard for me to talk to this face because this is really, really difficult to live through. I was in there for 27 hours. Anyway, they slipped this tray through a portal in the door under the window. of breakfast. Um, and again, having worked in prisons and lived with somebody that talked about prison, and it was called Nutriloaf. It was, and what that is, it must have been what it was because it was this glatulous like thing, loaf type thing, and what it is all the food left over from the day before, baked into a. Well, I couldn't eat that. I couldn't eat anyway. I would look at food, just kind of stop. I just couldn't. It just made me sick to think about eating. Um, and I think there was a banana and something else, and then they come and you give it back, and I literally didn't. I made myself eat something. I know, not the Nutriloaf. There was something else that I'd force myself to eat because I thought, you don't know how long you're going to be here. You need to eat something. So I did that. And they always had these big gallon, like milk jugs of two different. You never got water. You got either a yellow drink or orange drink. Or the red, orange or red. That was it. And I thought, are they putting, because I was just, I'm always tired of it, but I was like, I felt drugged. Now, I'm sure they're not, but there's something about, I was like, I don't know. I was scared, but then I noticed a lot of people were drinking the red drink, so I decided to start drinking the red drink. Anyway, the things that go through your head, and thank God I was arrested in front of my son's home, so therefore he knew and notified the family, and they all were alerted, because otherwise I could have been in there for who knows how long before they were out, where's mom? You know, either I wouldn't have been around, or if I got arrested, they wouldn't have known. But I was in a state of panic, and I couldn't remember anybody's phone number. And I'd ask the guard, can I, is there a way to look up numbers? Can I get my phone back? And he said, no, you gotta put in a kite. Well, I had worked in a prison, so I knew what a kite was. And I said, a kite? Why would I have to, I said, that'll take a couple days. He goes, oh yeah, they won't even get it till tomorrow or the next day. And I said, I just don't know anybody's phone number. And he's like, oh, well, Anyway, but I was always checked and monitored by a nurse because, remember, I'm on drugs. Jesus. So she was, and I go, can you do anything to try to get me out of here? I said, I don't belong here. I know you hear that all the time. And she felt bad. And so by about the third time, she did go to the officer later on. This is like the next day, and said something in the afternoon. And he goes, oh yeah, she's getting out. I'm like, you could have told me. Anyway, so when we're sitting out there, I know I'm rambling all over the place, sorry. Being checked by the nurse, we had to drink something, or I don't know what we were doing, and they checked my blood pressure and things to make sure I wasn't, going into withdrawal. So, one of the gals was just so drugged up, she's just like this the whole time. And I said, does anybody know if I can contact people on the outside? And she said, yes. I was like, okay, I'm going to take that as an answer. And another gal said, oh, I'm back in because I got arrested for being on drugs, and now I'm clean, and now I'm here. And anyway, so kind of started talking to them a little bit. So then it was time for my bail hearing in front of the judge. So I was taking, me and all the other people, the women that were arrested at the same time, we were all put into this big room again. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And they were like, oh, look at this, about this other gal. She's got makeup on. She thinks she's better than us. And she's pretending to be his poor honey. You could tell she was scared to death. And she's sitting there with her trying to pretend she's sleeping. Then the men would walk by, and they're like doing push-ups. And there was a toilet in the middle of the room. I'm thinking, who the heck would... Anyway, scary, scary people. So then we get escorted into the hearing room. Now, the hearing room is a room separate in this building, the jail, but the courthouse where the judge is across the street, so you're on a camera. They brought in one guy that, come to find out later, I'm thinking, oh, look at that nice young man. Yeah, no, he raped and chopped up his girlfriend. I saw him on the news later. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm in here with these people. Anyway, it was my turn, and you just get a defense attorney, some young kid. I can't even remember if it was, I think it was a girl. And she says, do you think your family will be here? And I said, oh, if they could, I'm sure they will. Well, they were told when they called, they felt so bad that they couldn't come. So they didn't. Guess who did? Yeah. hmm My ex. And I saw through the camera, I go, oh, no, he's here. My accuser is here. He's sitting in the courtroom. And he read off, or the judge read something that he had written about, something to the effect that she's a good girl, just gone wrong, gone bad, made some bad decisions. Uh-huh. Anyway, so now the people before me, they got like $200 bail or no bail. So I'm thinking, woohoo, it's easy. Oh no, $20,000 bail. Because I'm a felon, remember, and I'm a danger to the society. So you have to pay 10% of that. So it was $2,000 bail. So my poor kids paid it. But I don't know any of this. So we get escorted out. I get taken back to my cell. And I don't know who's posting. Do they have the money? I'm just like, oh my gosh. Panicking. I called a bail bond. You'd get a few minutes out to do whatever you needed to do. So I went to a phone in there in the big room where everybody was out and tried to call a bail bondsman, and he finally said I can contact him through Facebook. So I gave him the name and he did that. So my poor kids were like, oh my gosh, she thinks we didn't pay her bail. She doesn't know she's going to get out. I just, for some reason, even though I knew they knew, I don't know. I wasn't thinking right, obviously. They had a cart with books on it, and I refused to get a chapter book because I wasn't going to be there that long. It was a mental thing, and I got chicken soup for the soul. Anyway, so I'm there, and then I ran out of toilet paper because I was crying so much. I wasn't going to the bathroom that much, but I needed Kleenex. That was all I had. It was this little tiny roll. So I go out to the officer at one of my breaks and I said, I need no toilet paper. I'm out of toilet paper. He says, oh, sorry. We issue those only on Thursdays. And I'm like, I don't, and he goes, I'm just kidding. Isn't that funny? And I go, not today. No, I'm sorry. No, it's not funny at all. So he gave me toilet paper. Yeah, it just was one thing after another. I would lay there in there, try to doze off, I'd pray to God that somehow this was going to work out. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was charged with a felony. What's going to happen to me next? Finally, I think it was, so I got in there at 7. It was 11 o'clock at night when they knocked on my door and said that my bail had been posted and I was free to go. Well, that takes a long time to do that because they've taken all your stuff. So they take you to this room, you take off your stuff from the jail, they give you this bag of stuff, and you're in this room with all these basically girls, and you get they didn't give me my change back, they only gave me my dollars back. Anyway, my purse and everything. And I hear these girls talking about how they don't have any money to ride the bus to get home. And I'd heard them in that one room waiting for the bail hearing about how they had kids. And so being a teacher and a grandma and a mom, I go around and I give each of them $1. And they go, what are you doing? And I go, giving you each $1 for bus money. I want you to go home to your children and please, they need you. I said, I'm a teacher. I see what it does to kids. Go home and make it right. They didn't, but I don't know. Once I'm me, I'm always me, right? Even in that situation. So anyway, and okay, I think a couple said thank you or something, but I don't know. They open this big metal door. It's the middle of the night by now. It's midnight. They open this big into the outside, into the streets. I mean, I'm on kind of like this big street in a bad area of town, and then they and those girls just disappear into the night. They've been through this. They've disappeared. Well, I had my phone so I could call, and kids came and got me. I called my sister, and she said, "We'll go back." I said, "There's homeless people everywhere. It's like zombies. It's scary out here. I'm scared to death." And she said, "We'll go back in." I go, "First of all, hell no." Never go back in there. I go, and secondly, I can't. It's a big metal door. They're not gonna let me in. Oh my gosh. So luckily you have your cell phone. I could still call and let them know it's time to come get me. And I go back, stay at my son's. I give him my wedding ring. I said, I don't ever want to see this again. Just take it, put it somewhere. He did. We're all exhausted. I can't remember. I think I just went to bed. I just was just exhausted. And that is my time in jail. So, yeah, I made it through it. I am here to tell the story, thank God. I have much more of this story to tell. I apologize if I don't put these up frequently. I have to be in the right mindset. I have to be kind of. It's hard. It's healing to tell it, and I hope to gosh that it helps others. Because some people have reached out and thank you about their stories and how they admire me for being strong, and I am strong, but it wasn't easy, and I will continue to tell the story because there's much more to it that I think will help others. I would say that the time in jail was a very pivotal time in my life. Obviously, I survived it, but it definitely made me realize there ain't no going back. I am on my own, and that is the part I will start telling next. All right, take care. I love and appreciate every one of you and your comments. It means so much. You have no idea. The reaching out. If you're somebody going through something, you can get through it. You will feel like you can't. I thought I didn't see any light at the end of this tunnel, but I did know I would get through it. And if you have a good friend, family to talk to help support you, because boy, I found out how many friends I had and have, and how good my family is based on a lot of things that come up here and the support I have received throughout this journey. And yeah, stay blessed, stay safe, and know that you can do it. All right, guys, take care. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.